Yes.
Be taking attendance in lectures or anything? Just like pass around a sheet, write your name down.
There is a quiz today. You will not be taking it until after class. It is a quiz on MATLAB. Not just about MATLAB. You take it on MATLAB. That's what I meant. It will not be available until later on, I don't know, 4:50, something like that. I just want to talk about it briefly. So on Canvas, in the module for today, the third module, there will be a quiz assigned at some point. I don't know. I think it comes up this hour sometime. Don't worry about it until after class. In that quiz, you download a file. There's a link to the file. You download it. You save that file at the same place in your MATLAB path that you run any M files or things like that. So it's got to be in the MATLAB path. The name of the file is, and it says on the quiz, quiz unit 2.p. That's a weird extension. So you may look at it and say, that's a weird extension. And it is. But that's the right extension. Okay? You type in, if you put that file in your path and then type in quiz unit 2, that's all you need to say, quiz unit 2 in MATLAB, it will start the quiz. Okay? Everybody has a unique quiz. It's randomized for everybody in class, online. It is due tonight by midnight. Okay? There's going to be, it's on addressing. There's not going to be any secret about that. Addressing and some basic data organization. When you enter the data, and it will say, so make sure you enclose in square brackets. Okay. When you're all done, it will just say completed, and then nothing will happen. It automatically sends us an email with your results. Just take it once. Don't take it multiple times. We'll take your first trial. And that is all I can think to say about it. Is there any questions on general procedure for that quiz? Okay. Today, you remember how I often will tell you, Angel, that there is like one major concept, per class. And today there's like 3. But there they are. There's a correct way to graph. There's an incorrect way to graph. You should know how to import data. This is where we're really thinking about MATLAB as a tool. When would you want to use MATLAB? Beyond the obvious. When you've taken a bunch of data for work, for research, for whatever, for your class, and you want to do something with it, like plot it. Well, then MATLAB is your perfect friend. Okay? So, there's not many slides today, but they're going to be packed full of information. All right, so quick note on help. I have given you a table of common MATLAB functions. For any of them, not just on the table, but for any MATLAB command, you can type DOC, which stands for documentation, doc, whatever. That is the best manual on MATLAB. I always have it open. I've uploaded common MATLAB functions in Canvas, and you can see all kinds of things like trigonometric and a lot of things you probably used in 112 or have seen already. That's great. Let me ask you this. Did you ever use the documentation in 112? Was that a common thing to do? Was that a thing we would not do? Sort of unsure. if I type, oh, I need to make this bigger. Font, make that bad boy huge. There we go. For example, if I want to know about the max function, which finds the maximum of a vector, then it comes right up with this, and the important thing is it shows you all the ways it can be used, so lots of commands can be used in more than one way. That's very important. If you're looking for exactly how the function needs to be called for your particular application, this is where you find it. Okay, more on that next time. Yes, more on that next time. Okay, so that's just a little side note. Let's come back here. Plotting in MATLAB. So extremely powerful, and we'll only look at a few examples. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that you typed in the command plot something in 112, am I right? Yeah, lots of nods. Good, good. And also, the important thing to know how would you know the incorrect and correct way to plot, is to first realize, what does MATLAB do when you say plot? What does it do? What it does is it plots. What does MATLAB only knows what? What is the basic unit in MATLAB? It is the matrix, thank you. And what is a matrix? It's simply a group of numbers, or other things, cats, dogs, but for our class, numbers. And those numbers are organized in a certain way. So almost always when you are using plot, at least for this class, you'll be thinking about plotting a row vector, a column vector, and just so a single series of numbers. What does MATLAB do? It plots those dots there. And then it connects them with a line. That may or may not be what you want. So let's look at that for a second. Let's start by picking a horrible variable name, telling us nothing about what we're going to do. And I'm going to make it do 100 random numbers. Okay, it did it. I'm very happy. It's in the workspace. I see x is 100 by 1. Fantastic. What happens now if I say plot x? Well, it plots them. And you are saying, yeah, I know. But what exactly did it do? Exactly it did is it plotted little dots everywhere for each number, 100 dots, and it connected the dots by straight lines. Maybe that's what you wanted it to do. Maybe that's not what you wanted it to do. The thing is, it's important to know that that's what it did. If you wanted to just see the data all by itself, you might add a little modifier to the plot command. For example, that little modifier says, just show me dots where the data is. Then if I go back to the dot and I look, I can hardly see it. And maybe you can't too, especially if you're far back there. But there's a little blue dot everywhere there was a data point. So 100 data points in that vector. Maybe I wanted it to kind of fit a curve within there. Maybe I didn't want it to go by straight lines, but that's fine. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. It only knows about lists of numbers, and so it makes little dots of those lists of numbers and connects it with straight lines. That's thing number one. Thing number two, in engineering /math/physics, when you make a plot, you almost always have something that must be known about both the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay? So you tell me, all I did was give it a 100 element vector x, and I said plot. Which axis, x or y, did MATLAB do something with those 100 numbers? Are those numbers represented on the y-axis or on the x-axis? Say it loud, I can't hear. Both, well, maybe both. Okay, both. It did do something with both axes, but if I think about the values of the numbers, go ahead.
I was going to say all 100 points are pointed out on the x-axis, and then the range of values that they are the points from 0 to 1 on the y-axis.
Okay, okay. We're close enough. If I look at those individual numbers, whatever they are, let's do that. Come back here. I'm going to actually just do that double clicky thing on X, and I can see these numbers here. They're between 0 and 1. They are the Y values. They are the Y values, and they are spread across the X axis. But they are the Y values. Now, since I only gave MATLAB one thing, one vector, when I said plot, what does it do on the X axis? That's where it just says integers. So what we actually plot, if we just give MATLAB one argument, like X, is it plots X versus element number. Okay, that's really, really important. Really, really important. This is element number, and this is whatever variable you chose to plot. You may not have wanted to do that. Okay, so that is important to keep in mind. For example, what if these random numbers did not mean to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but what if they actually represented some sort of sampling of data over time? And maybe that time was every, let's make up something. This time I will give it a good name. Time vector equals, maybe time vector is representative of 0 times 0 every 20 milliseconds. That's 0.05 seconds. To whatever, it's 100 long. So I would need to figure out here how what's 100 into the 20 milliseconds. That's 2,000 milliseconds. That's 1 point. See how close I get. Not at all. Time vector. There it is. Now it's 100 long. Now if I say, actually, let's look at that first one. Okay, down here on the bottom, that's just element number. But if I give it 2, now I've got something that belongs to the x-axis and I've got something that belongs to the y-axis. Very, very, very important to know that. I come back here and I notice that, of course, my x-axis is no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually just going from 0 to almost 5 to represent those 100 numbers. Okay, crucial questions about that. All right. By default, the command plots x versus the element number. We may not want that. Connects the dots with straight lines. Okay, we talked about all this. Important to know that that is what it is doing. Okay, let's move to importing data. Now, there's all manner of ways to import data into MATLAB. For us, the easiest thing to do is going to be to use its little built-in tool, which is very easy to do and handles almost any kind of text file if the data is structured nicely, where nicely is in quotes, whatever that means. We'll bring in almost any Excel file, any kind of spreadsheet file. MATLAB's very good at. Okay, so how do we do that? We come back here. Well, let's get rid of this guy. Come back to MATLAB. And there is a little icon up here, which is, that's the wrong one, this little arrow here, and it says import data. I'm going to click on that. Import data brings up everything in the current directory that it thinks it could be able to just bring it on in. It gives you those options. In this case, I've actually prepared something called ECG data. It's just a text file. It could have been an Excel file, and that would have showed up here as well. I open it, and I get this kind of business. Text so small that I can't even read it, even though it's about 10 inches in front of me. Let's try and make this a little bigger. Okay. Did you use the import tool function in 112? Okay, then this is review, fantastic. The important thing to know is that there's basically two ways to bring it in. One way is as a complete matrix. So I could come up here and select, there's column vectors and there's numeric matrix. I could click on numeric matrix and it's going to bring it all in as one big matrix. In this case, there's many, many rows. I don't know how many. Should I just scroll down and see? 2,250. Good night. So this is a 2,250 by 2 matrix. Okay. Usually when it's that, we don't really want to bring in the whole matrix. It's really talking about two different things. So in that case, I'm going to select column vectors. And I'm going to give them, it allows you to give them names right off the bat. Now this happens to be samples of an ECG circuit, and the first column represents time, and the second column represents data, so I'm just going to give them those names. So ECG time is what I'm typing here. ECG data is what I'm typing in the next one. And little crazy thing in MATLAB is they both need to be selected. And then you can do import selection. It will tell you right away that it imported two column vectors, both of them 2250 by 1. If I go over here and look in the workspace, they're there. I'm happy. I've got my data into MATLAB. Okay, procedure would be exactly the same if it was an Excel spreadsheet, any kind of text file that has them organized like that. Okay, questions on that? Of course, now that we brought data into MATLAB, we may want to do all manner of things with it, but first thing we want to do is to plot it. So I remember that the data was ECG data, and now I've already made a mistake. What's my mistake? Or I probably made a mistake. What's my mistake? Is this going to give me what I want? No. Why not? What is this going to give me? Yes? Right. Good. Good. Absolutely. And in fact, it won't even give me that. Oh, MATLAB has gotten smarter over the years. It's a little spooky. It says to me right now, I think you're a bad typer. Is this what you wanted? Yes, I did. Okay. So there's the shape I got. Excellent. Oh, that reminds me, you need this data to do the assignment. So Julia will remind me to put this stuff onto Canvas. You see, okay, but here is great. Boy, if you ECG really look like this, you've got some problems. This was a noisy circuit, but look, exactly right. This is 2000 what? I don't know. Well, 2000 element numbers. So that's not what I wanted. What did I want? I wanted to do ECG time, ECG. You know, I should just do the little, can do the tab to do autocomplete, and that's very good. And sure enough, here is much more what I wanted. Okay, questions? I mean, we we almost already did it. You guys are so smart. We already talked about this. We already talked about this. We kind of got this. We even drew some more squiggly lines and stuff. So things are going really well. Questions? Okay, MATLAB is your friend. It knows that you don't want to mess around with how to do all kinds of different colors and line thicknesses and fonts and all that stuff. So it puts them all conveniently in one button called Plot Tools. That is this button on the end. Once you have a plot up there, you click it, and then you click on whatever it is you want to change, and it will give you all kinds of ways to change it, okay? So, first thing I always do, I think all graphs should be on grids. So I come down here and I click grid X, grid Y. Love it. Nice. Then I click on this graph itself. Can you guys see this? What if I turn off the light? Maybe a little bit better. I can barely see the it's on and red light. Battery?
Yeah.
All good to go? Okay. I can't see these numbers at all. I mean, let alone from here, I can't see them from down here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go over to font, this little tap. It takes some playing around to see all the base things you can do, but you know. Okay. There. See, now I can start to see what's going on. Excellent. Much better. I need more things to make this a real engineering graph. What kinds of things do I need to put in there to make it a real engineering graph and not just something I scribbled on a napkin? I need some kind of thing for the axes, right? So I go to x-axis and I need some kind of label there. Actually, I know what the label is. It's time, right? Axes should always have what it is, what that axis represents, and what else? Units, for heaven's sakes. And then the y-axis, what would we say? ECG signal? How about we spell it right? Cisniga? Okay, let's just pretend that that's right. And what are the units there? They're in volts. They might be millivolts. Nope, this is 0, 1, 2, so it's just volts. Okay, I hope we don't get confused when we watch this later. And Cisniga? Who knows? There are all manner of little fun things you can put in. You can add little texts. You can paint. You know how you like to do. This would be one of the things that you really would probably be sending me pictures about, is how you made pretty pictures, arrows, all kinds of things. Okay? Questions on that? Used to have to do anything like this with the command from the command line. Set font size 24. You still can. But this is really nice. Okay. You're probably all saying, this if this isn't included, I'm not even touching it. What do you mean, really nice? Well, to me, it's really nice. We spend a lot of time typing in all of these, magic marker commands. Okay. Well, does this thing need anything else? Would anything else be nice for this kind of graph? To make it a real engineering graph? Say it for me. I see a lot of moving mouths, but that doesn't help me. I can't read your lips or minds. A caption. That would be fantastic. Excellent. We can put a text box anywhere we like. We can make a title. This in MATLAB, they like to call it title. So you can put whatever you want up there, and that's fun. Put your grandma's name up there, send it to her. That's really, that's worth every dollar she paid in tuition for you. Of course, there's other things too. There are legends. Okay, what if I had more than one graph? I might put a legend up there. So all kinds of things that you can play with. Okay? All right. Oh. Your homework will be all about trying to match what crazy things I did with just stuff just like this. So you'll have a lot of fun. No Cisniga, but everything else is pretty neat. Here is the best way I know of to put this graph into either a Word document or PowerPoint or something presentation-wise. You want to say edit, not copy, edit copy figure. That preserves all of what's called the metadata for MATLAB graphs and allows the next thing, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, whatever presentation you want to put in, to take full advantage of scaling and all kinds of other things. So that's what you want to do, edit copy figure. All right, let's come back here for a moment. Really behind on slides, but you know all this stuff. Okay, rename column vectors, anatomy of a good plot. Oh, correct x-axis. No. X-axis with units. Wow, it's almost like I wrote these slides myself and remembered them. Grid on, descriptive title. Yeah, oh, that's a good one right there. Subject 3, 2012, it's like 10 years ago. Plot tools, marvelous thing. Okay, now for the rest of our time, I want to talk about a few of the handier other things you can do plotting-wise. MATLAB actually has a gazillion things you can do plot-wise. That is not our intention to go over all of them. We just want to show some of them. Okay, so let us get back here and let us create a brand new couple signals. All right, I'm going to have something on the x-axis. X is 0, 0.01 to 20. And I want two graphs that are based on that x. One is 200 times e to the minus 0.05 times x times sine x, but that better be a dot multiply sine x. And I want y2 to be 0.8 times e to the minus also 0.5x. No, the first one was 0.05x. This is 0.5 times x dot multiply sine 10 times x. So these are going to be slightly different signals, but they are both going to be damped sinusoids. Okay, and the question is, what if I want to plot both of them? Well, there's ways to do that. First of all, let's take a look at each. If I plot xy1 and I look at that figure, I can see that here we go. It is a sinusoid that is slowly decreasing. If I plot xy2 and I look at that, it is also a sinusoid that's decreasing, but at a different rate and more quickly. Higher frequency as well. Okay. Way number one to put them together so I can see them both at the same time is the subplot. To do subplot, actually let's get rid of the figure. Did you do subplots? I'm not going to call on you. No. Okay, I see some no's. Subplot, then let's us take a little more time to talk about it. Because subplot is a little bit strange. If you have one figure window, you can put as many subplots as you want on this window. And MATLAB has almost been consistent with itself. Almost. Okay, what do I mean? Let us say that you want, for some reason, to put 12 subplots into this figure window. And since you're now in the zone and you're in MATLAB zone, you think of these subplots as like little elements. You know, look at this. I'm like just drawing boxes, you know how you do on Monday afternoons. I'm doing this, having fun. Boxes are getting worse and worse. That's like not even a box anymore. It's all right. But I wanted to put 12 of these. And immediately, what do you say to yourself? It looks like a matrix. It does, but it's 12 windows. But there are 3 rows and 4 columns, okay? So here's where MATLAB is consistent with itself. Let us say that you want to start with making one of these 3x4 windows. You say subplot 3, 4, and then here's where MATLAB just forgot. Whatever engineer was doing this day, he should be fired because he makes me waste. I'm going to start timing the time because it's starting now. Wasting time right now, explaining to you. The last number, the first 2 numbers say this is the basic size I want you to put within this figure, 3x4. So then the last number you think would tell you which of those 12 little windows I want. Now what's the logical way to do that given how MATLAB works so far? If you are trying with a single number to tell MATLAB which of these windows you want, you would do linear indexing like we talked about the first day, and you'd start counting down. So let's say you wanted this one. You'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? The engineer who was on duty that day messed up, and he did it across. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the one that you would do. Okay, that was maybe 50 seconds of wasted time. Okay. But you know, times several years of teaching the class, at some point, it's going to be an hour of tuition. But let's say you didn't want 12, you just want 2. You're much better shape this way. Let's say I want one right on top of each other. Window, window. That's like what? It's like a column, like 2 by 1. Okay. Subplot 2, 1, and then 1 is the top one and 2 is the bottom one. So I'll say subplot 211. If all I do is type that, what MATLAB does is this. It says, I know kind of the general direction you're going, so I'm going to go ahead and put that figure up there, and I'm even going to put one of the axis that you talked about, which was the number 1 axis, and I'm going to get ready for you to put in there whatever you want. That's actually a lot to say. I wonder if you have any questions about that. Once you type that subplot command, the very next command you type, it will put the data into that part. So I will say plot x, y1. I will go back to my subplot, and you can, there it is. Okay. Now what? I want to put the other one up there in the other position. So I'll say subplot 2, 1. The first 2 numbers are the same. They're always talking about the kind of structure in which I want 2x1 windows in there. Comma, and now I want the second little sub window. As soon as I do that, if I looked at that figure, you can see that MATLAB has put that little second window in, and the very next thing I type will be whatever goes in there. Subplot, oops, no, I got so excited about subplot. Plot x, y2. Look at the figure, there it is. Okay, and now this is one way to get 2 things onto 1 window. Horrible paragraphs, horrible, no excuse. 2 out of 10 points, maybe. Why? There's no x-axis, there's no y-axis, there's no title, there's no grid. I have no idea what those numbers mean. Are they years? I mean, I have no idea. However, since I'm up here talking and teaching, I can get away with it. You know, it's like making x as a variable name. Okay, question on that. That's way number 1. Way number 2 is the hold command. Did we do the hold command in 112? It's one of my favorite commands ever. Let me tell you why. Okay, I just got rid of that figure, so at the very next, as soon as I X out of a figure, MATLAB doesn't know anything about those subplots anymore because they all went away. So if I did want to make more subplots, I'd have to start over again. This time I don't. I want to put them both on the same axis. Okay, and this time, do I really need 2 new things? What was y? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back. We're going to plot x, y1. Okay? Horrible plot. Well, at least it shows me the shape of my data. Very nice. If I want to put another curve right on top, not a new window, nothing, I just want to put right on top, I use the hold command. And the command is hold on. I mean, now that, whoever was on duty that day, she was thinking. She said that would be a cool command. Hold on. So I do that. As soon as I say hold on, whatever I type in next as a plot command will go right over on top of the other thing. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to plot. I did x, y1. Let's plot x, y2. It does not make a new window because I have hold it on. And there it is. In this case, it made it a new color. It kind of guesses what you might want to do, such as you might want to make it a new color, or different color than the one you originally did. By the way, if you did not like this color and you wanted to change it, how would you do it in about 10 seconds? Plot tools, select it, change color. Oh, big problem here. What happened? Scale. One is, it put them both on the same scale. But if you looked at the definition of those 2 signals, one had an overall amplitude or starting amplitude of something like 200, and the other was less than 1. So I got them both on the same window, but it didn't really help me very much. Okay, so to do that, I can do something else, which is called plot YY. Why am I laughing? Because there's like a gazillion MATLAB plotting commands. I just want you to know the most basic ones. Okay, do you do plot YY in 112? Probably not. Do you think I'll ask before every single thing I ever teach you in my life if you did it in 112? No, I'm sorry. I'm just curious. Plot YY tells MATLAB you want to put two things of probably different scale on the same figure. And the syntax now is x, y of the first thing, x, y of the second graph. So the first graph is x comma y1. The second graph has the same x-axis. Wouldn't necessarily have to, by the way, but it does. So I just put another x in there, y2, hit return, and whoa, you know, did this all by itself. I mean, this is the magic of modern. This is my friend. And look at that. Gave me one scale on the right with a different color than the one scale on the left. Orange? No, no. I would change that right away. Burnt orange. Is that like Texas or something? Okay, so that's a problem. We've got to get rid of that. And but we can do that. We go to plot tools, click on things, change colors, just like the same. Okay? Questions? All right, and one more little subtle one, which is a histogram. Now let's say that if I thought about all of those voltage values in ECG data, there are 2,250 of them. Okay? I'm just going to kind of look at some of them. Some are really small. Some of them are up in the 0.003s as I get going more and more and more. Some of them rise to like 0.2 minus 0.6, so they're kind of all over the place. All right. What if I wanted to group them by their amplitudes? So I want to know about how many of these 2,250 points are between 0.1 and 0.2, and how many are between 0.2 and 0.3, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a different kind of graph, right? That would be a histogram. That would be a distribution graph. There are about 243 ways to do a histogram. How would I know about all those 243 ways? I would type doc histogram and let the documentation come up and see all of them. However, a really easy way to start is just to type histogram ECG data. Oh, see, but it knows me. Did you mean this? Yes, just do it. Okay. Oh, and it's made a nice, very nice graph for me already. Now this one's a little different. In this case, what is the x-axis now? Before it was element number. I don't think it's element number anymore. What is it now? That would be y-axis. But you're but you're right. There's a whole new thing, a number of occurrences, and that's on the y-axis. But what about the x-axis? What did we count up, or what did we find occurrences of? The data itself. And the data was ECG data, which was what was that before? That was our Y data. So histogram is very different. Histogram is very different. And if I wanted to do, you know, there's, like I said, a million different things I could do with histogram. The very first one might be, well, I don't like how it just, how did it know how to bin it? You know, how to make the divisions in the bins. It tries to be smart, and it tries to figure out what you might have wanted. You might not have wanted 23 or whatever bins are there. Maybe you wanted 100. And if you were looking in the documentation, you would see that that's just exactly how I would do it, is I would just give it a number. Many, many other ways to do stuff like that. Okay? Questions? I think we have been through everything. So, do I get to answer? Is it Grandma? Who is it? Who is it I get to answer? Text back. This is kind of fake. I don't recognize this number. Bailey? Okay. Give her a one midway, one down, one up. Is that something you can even do? I don't even know if you do that. So, no, say, who is this, question mark. What do you have today due at midnight? Quiz. How do you run this thing? Download the file. But it's weird, it's a .p. I never heard of a .p, so I guess I'm not going to do anything with it. Right or wrong? Incorrect. You're going to run it anyway. Do you have to type the .p? No. Yes. That gives you, good question. That gives you 100 bins to put all the data into. If you just type in histogram, it tries to calculate with its own little internal algorithm where it thinks how many bins it should be. Good questions. And you have an assignment which is due now. It's not due, let's see, what's today? Monday. It is not due Friday. It is not due Thursday. It is due Wednesday. This is not a hard thing. There's like 6 graphs and a bonus one if you really want to get into it that you can easily have done in half an hour. And if you can't, you need to come see me. I will see you next time. Quizzes in back of the room.